London at the World Blockchain Forum, and we're here with CryptoArnie. How are you doing?
Doing very well, thank you very much.
All right, in his hometown, London.
That's right, yep. Yeah. Unfortunately, and it's a bit grey today, but yeah.
It's sunshine in the crypto. I saw the charts. It's a bit of a crash going on, but
I know, I love it. I've anticipated this for some time now. If you're in my group, then you know that I probably sold at about 7.4, and I'm anticipating it to go down below 6. But we'll have to test 6,000 and see what happens.
Oh yeah, you think below 6?
I think so. I mean, there's multiple factors to be addressed, but no ETF this year. Funds and traders adjust the risk. So they deleverage or they de-risk, and then obviously depending what happens in March, maybe then you'll have funds or big traders buy in then. But for now, it's a strategy of minimizing the risk. I think it's important.
More uncertainty in the market for this year.
I think so. Look, if there's no new buying volume and the ETS, which I don't actually think will have much of an impact on the market, if that doesn't really come in, then I think the lack of liquidity amongst investors and traders is a massive issue. And if with everyone locked up in all these ICOs, you're not going to see a healthy trading market anytime soon.
So less liquidity in the market, less capital in the market. I mean, so actually we have to forget about 2018, or?
I don't think so. I think 2018 holds key lessons for anyone in the space. And I think for people investing or buying coins and tokens, but those see them as investments, for the first time, right? Now experiencing what happens when it goes wrong.
Yeah.
And most people will drop out of the space, or just sell for a loss, or just hold and not come back. But the ones who are proactively trying to learn and educate themselves will try to further their strategies on the criteria on how they invest, right? Frameworks around ICOs, constantly looking at how projects are progressing, any kind of fundamental factors that would put their investments at risk, bad news, all that kind of stuff. So I think now is the time, the whole of 2018, you should be really digging into the space and trying to just educate yourself as much as possible, and also meet as much people as you can, because network is really important in this space.
And how would you describe yourself as an influencer or as a trader, or?
That's a good question. I think because I've got my hands in a few different things at the moment, I wouldn't really say that I was an influencer, although people may know me. I came into crypto first through trading, it's true. And I only started investing in ICOs around August. Actually, before I invested in ICOs, I was mining Ethereum. My dad had been mining Ethereum actually for a number of years. And then we decided Yeah, he's very happy with it. Apart from when you could mine 5 Ethereum a day, and his cousin basically, my uncle basically formatted the hard drive with the wallet on there. Obviously it was early days, he didn't realize, oh crap, the private key's on there. So we've got the Ethereum address of this wallet with 200 ETH in it that we can't get because the sector on the hard drive has been overwritten. It's like someone's used it multiple times, right? So yeah, there's some interesting lessons there. Always back up and make sure
lessons.
Yeah, and then so mined first and ICO investing in August, and then from there really just scaled up in terms of how do we look for the best projects, those diamonds in the rough that will bring you good returns. And
what were your biggest returns, if I may ask?
I had so I was in Icon and OneChain.
Wow.
Once I was in Wabi. I was in Pundi X, which is a good amount. Loopring Neo. Syndicator. Well, that was beautiful. That was like a 29x off the. It was not listed anywhere substantial apart from IDEX. Or ETH Delta. Ether Delta. Some really I don't even remember it anymore. Some crappy thing, and it was there for ages. And we were losing hope, and the team were acting a bit childish. They got listed on Binance, and about a week after the sort of sluggish momentum, it just started going for a drive, and that was a 29x. Even in the bear market, we are finding really good projects. We had 2 weeks ago, so this was in August, Insurium list on Coinbene or Hadex. Sorry, my memory is really foggy, and that was a 600% in the bear market.
Which coin?
Insurium is a Korean-based insurance project, and it's the CEO, the team are probably some of the best globally in the insurance industry. And post sale, they announced a partnership with AXA, and they still have some really massive news to come out. So it's really those diamonds in the rough that we're trying to target. And there's a lot of noise. It's hard to find. It's a lot of work to find them, but you can still make a return in this market. It just requires so much work.
You speak about we, so you have a group of
right.
people who analyze, and you actually have like a buying pool or something you serve, or?
That's right. We have a community of investors and ICO participants, and so between our networks we're able to find, the network effect is amplified, so everyone knows everyone else, and we're able to try and find good projects, and then we obviously co-invest with each other. And there are researchers in our team, there are coders in our team, there's people from basically every walk of life when you go through where people come from and what they do. So we're lucky in that sense. It's obviously, the community is called CryptoArnie.
And one of the things, sorry to interrupt, but one of the things is also, do you see that some of these VCs are actually selling their equity? Yeah? I mean,
you mean the allocations?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you need to be careful out there, and obviously because we spot trends really early, we see a new trend every couple of weeks. So with the whole issue around venture capitalists, even family office, to be honest, family offices are more to blame for the reselling than VCs. People don't know that, and advisors as well. But you're seeing us being able to delineate between the VCs that resell and the ones that don't. So for us, if we're investing in a project, if we like a project and they have their VC partnerships public, we kind of know who's going to sell and who isn't. So therefore we can actually mitigate potential dumping of their project onto the smaller guys because they have better terms. So actually it's an advantage to have this kind of market intelligence through our community out there. But yes, there's lots of VCs selling allocations. I think the VCs and the family offices aren't to blame. It's the culture amongst ICOs. It's the culture amongst the teams that think that they can go and basically layer their sale where the VCs give their brand and then they can get the best terms, and then all the ordinary people get medium to low terms, and basically
so there's no democratization. I mean,
it's very shady. It's very shady. I mean, it's not illegal or anything, but it's just very shady, and therefore what they're doing is extracting profit before listing, because if the VCs are selling for markup, then the potential range for markup for the guys who buy off them.
Same as seen with IPOs. I mean,
same with IPOs, yeah. So I mean, obviously we like to invest in projects and they're really hard to get into. So it's a situation of proper due diligence and assessing, right, if we're going to co-invest with a VC or fund, or we're trying to get allocation from someone, it's going to mean that we need to do our homework and see what's being offered out there, and it needs to be reasonable terms so that we can compete with the VCs who are getting it at cost, or some secret seed round, or I don't know, right?
But you can get the best deals with these allocations, or better deals.
The thing is it depends on the culture and the ethos of the project. Now, if the project is like a DApp or a some kind of consumer-based app or something, right? Then their tokens need to be in the hands of consumers, which means it makes more sense for them to do a public or crowd-sale ICO, right? Yeah. Rather than just VCs bag-holding everything. Now, if that's not the case, if it's a blockchain or infrastructure project, then those, obviously the market data shows that those are more profitable, and therefore the VCs want as much as possible. Whether they partially keep what they raise internally and then either outsource that and raise from someone else, or they resell the allocation. It just depends. I mean, there's no one size.
Do you prefer? I mean,
we prefer to go direct to the projects, obviously. Yeah. But the thing is, in the recent culture in the space, since the start of the correction around January, there was a massive shift. Maybe you remember it was really hard to get into the ICOs because you were whitelisted, right? Everyone was doing whitelistings and the websites were going down. I'll name them, like Self-Key, The Key. Not B token was decent. Like a bunch of projects were just, as soon as it went public, the websites went down. Exactly, right. So that was a massive headache for ICO teams to have that IT infrastructure in place to facilitate like 100,000 people trying to register on Typeform or something like that. It just crashed the site. And, we'd go and tell these projects we were investing in the private sale, very small allocation, look, can you please make sure you spin up servers so you can handle the demand. They'll be like, don't worry, our CTO is the best guy in the world and the best guy in the space. And you know what happens? It goes down. You don't hear a response. So, you know, we just go from project to project telling them, look, can you please make sure you don't try and FUD your own project by doing it properly, because obviously we're private sale investors. We want them to look as good as possible. So that was something. So when that stopped, when private sales became very hard to get into, you then saw the next kind of evolution of that, which was just the VC, them going for VC investment. Big chunks, easy to do, couple SAFs, need to be signed, done. And then obviously you saw the VCs exploit the part where they were able to basically resell the allocations for markup before listing. So they minimize the risk, especially during the bear market. And because they're the ones basically creating the trend, people don't realize until later on that, you know, the VCs already clocked on that, you know, that we're having correction in the market. There's a lack of liquidity in post ICO buyers. Then you potentially, if you hold your tokens, you're looking at a loss. And also with the VCs, in a lack of a liquid market, how do you actually scale out your entire huge positions, you know, if you're buying up to 5k ether worth of. So that's another question. So really the only way for them to do, or to function in the current way they function, is to do this strategy they're employing now.
And actually another trend, and to round up, I think is also the tokens are, it's getting, I mean, for instance, freight network, I mean, it takes like one year before the tokens go listed. I mean, we help projects get on exchanges as well in Korea and in Western markets, and the due diligence process is becoming very long. You need a proper legal opinion from a top a top legal firm, and as well, the company ICOs now don't want to pay the listing fees that the exchanges are looking for. So you're seeing actually ICOs withdrawing from negotiations and just waiting. They're literally just waiting it out and seeing who kind of goes, who jumps first. What, is it the exchanges that lower their fees, or is it the ICOs that get pushed by their investors and say, look, enough is enough, list now because it's been 3 months or whatever. So yeah, the huge delays until listing. And do you also help ICOs to actually I mean, some of these older ICOs got lots of funds, like millions, and we also know examples in the Netherlands that they raised like 12 million and they just hodled, and then
lack of market.
I mean,
the situation with that is what happens to the funds when post ICO raise, and you saw a whole bunch of projects get caught by the correction who didn't have any portfolio management or risk management external from their projects who could actually professionally manage their capital. They just raised 10, 15, 20, 30 mil, 100 mil, right? It's not fictitious. Well, you could say it's fictitious capital, right? Because real money is also fictitious and printed. But let's, for the sake of the argument, say that ETH is actually worth something. Then you should be employing external companies to protect these millions and millions of dollars of your, you know, that you need to run your company. So because a number of companies haven't done that, they got hit. They spent lots of the initial ETH on marketing to scale, and then they got hit by a correction. And now the ETH isn't worth like 1/5 of what it was worth before. So now those companies are facing real serious issues with basically running their business. And I know privately of a bunch of projects, luckily that, you know, we aren't investing in any of them, where they're down to the last few million, and some of which are literally saying privately that they're going to have no choice to close, but they're not going to tell investors they're going to close down their companies, which I think is outrageous. So that's probably another scandal you see later on.
They can, I mean, it's not regulated.
It's true. I mean, look, the thing is,
part of your reputation.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
you don't need millions to run an ICO, and this goes into the whole point of why have a huge hard cap. And, you know, people say, oh, we need a big team, we need to scale, we need developers, but you can't scale humans. Right? Even if you have 100 million, you can't scale humans. So your developers are limited to how they can, how you know, them as human beings coding, right? So therefore, we prefer companies with a smaller cap because they're more creative, and they're a lot more smarter about prioritizing the tasks of which they need to do with their development phase, and therefore they look after the capital very, very properly, very cautiously, compared to a project that will raise 100 mil and just splash out cash like, you know, they've retired. So that's, you know, these kind of, you know, these very nuanced or minute points are really important to like ticking all the boxes to finding a gem, in my opinion. So yeah,
the gem was one of the gem. Last question is Woodstock. You wanna? Woodstock, sorry.
Rootstock, RSK. Yeah, I'm extremely excited about RSK, and this is controversial from someone who is an Ethereum miner.
Shilling now.
There we go. I'm just telling you, right? Yeah, I was an Ethereum miner. I think Ethereum is in big trouble. Let's see what Vitalik pulls out this end of this year. Maybe he releases sharding or plasma or some kind of update. Who knows? But with RSK coming out, RSK is essentially layer 2. It's smart contracts secured by the Bitcoin mining network, as well as a merged smart Bitcoin to Bitcoin kind of token coin function thingy. So you're gonna RSK have already got hundreds of projects lined up for basically being on their mainnet. So ICOs will happen on RSK, and then obviously with that, some of the ICO volume will be diluted away from Ethereum, or diverted away from Ethereum. So now Ethereum is basically being attacked by the previous ICOs that raised on Ethereum with oversupply in the market because they're all liquidating. And now anyone raising more, like anyone who has new capital, is now not buying Ethereum, they're buying another token. They're buying RSK. Well, Riff is the token. It's a smart it's the gas of the contract. So I think we could see Ethereum go down to maybe $100. I'm not saying it won't come back. It's a bear market. So, but I'm extremely excited about RSK. I think the team are amazing. They have global reach in terms of projects coming to them, and I think they have several hundred ICOs lined up, or projects lined up to be on their mainnet.
All right, sounds good. Thank you very much, Arnie. You can go to Twitter, I think.
Telegram, CryptoArnie.
All right, thank you very much.
Take care.
Yes.